One Nation leader Pauline Hanson has sparked outrage in the Senate, walking in wearing a clothing item worn by Muslim women. The disruptive stunt forced a suspension of the upper house late today.
Just before 4 in the upper house, Pauline Hanson lowers the tone. The senator, dressed in a burqa, sitting and waiting for the reaction she knows is coming.
Dress code might be a choice of the senators, but racism should not be the choice of the Senate.
The political fallout from Hanson's repeated stunts has been fascinating to watch. While she's maintained her core support base, many mainstream politicians across the political spectrum have condemned her actions. Even some conservative commentators, who might typically align with One Nation on other issues, drew the line at what they saw as unnecessary provocation of Muslim Australians. The business community has also pushed back, with major companies emphasising their commitment to diversity and inclusion. Because here's a reality check: modern Australia is multicultural, and that's not changing. Businesses know that discriminatory rhetoric is bad for social cohesion, and therefore bad for the economy. What's particularly revealing is how this issue exposes the fault lines in Australian society. On one side, you have people who genuinely believe that Islam is incompatible with Australian values and that Muslim immigration should be restricted or religious practices regulated. On the other side, you have Australians who see religious freedom and cultural diversity as fundamental strengths of our nation. And in the middle, there's a massive chunk of people who honestly just want everyone to get along and think the whole debate is a massive distraction from issues that actually matter, like cost of living, healthcare, and whether their kids will ever be able to afford a house. The international reaction hasn't been kind either. When footage of Hanson's burqa stunt went viral globally, it became yet another embarrassing moment for Australian politics on the world stage.
I do represent a large proportion of Australians out there who want to see the burqa banned. Full face coverings. It's not only the burqa, it's about full face coverings.
Oh look, it's just a bunch of dog whistling bullshit.
One Nation's leader had sat on the wrong side of the chamber, crossing the floor, her normal attire on show.
Did you just come from Afghanistan?
Attendants had already confirmed it was the senator, allowing her to cast a vote before the Senate was shut down.
Clearly, what has happened today is not a genuine demonstration of faith.
International media portrayed it as evidence of rising right-wing populism and Islamophobia in Western democracies. Not exactly the image Australia wants to project when we're trying to maintain diplomatic relationships with majority Muslim nations in our region and attract international students and skilled migrants to our shores. So, where does this leave us? Well, despite Hanson's best efforts, the burqa remains legal in Australia, as it should be. Parliament has repeatedly rejected calls for bans, recognising that such legislation would be discriminatory, unenforceable, and fundamentally un-Australian. Muslim Australians continue to practice their faith, contribute to society, and navigate the extra scrutiny and prejudice that unfortunately comes with being visibly Muslim in 2025. And Pauline Hanson continues to be Pauline Hanson, riding the controversy train for as long as it keeps her politically relevant.
The real question for the rest of us is what kind of Australia we want to build. Do we want a nation where political leaders can use religious minorities as props in their theatrical performances? Where some Australians feel less welcome than others based on their faith or cultural practices? Or do we want an Australia that genuinely lives up to its multicultural ideals, where religious freedom means something real, and where politicians focus on actual problems rather than manufactured controversies? Because right now, we're at a crossroads, and the burqa debate is really just a symbol of that larger choice we need to make about who we are and who we want to be. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep thinking critically about the politics shaping our nation.
In fact, it is the middle finger to people of faith.
This is not the way that you should be addressing this chamber. This is not a respectful way to address other people.
She certainly will not be heard if she doesn't remove herself from the chamber.
It's 8 years since Senator Hanson first wore the covering into the chamber.
I'm quite happy to remove this because this is not what should belong in this parliament.
Penny Wong was in the Senate that day too.
The sort of disrespect that you are engaging in now is not worthy of a member of the Australian Senate, and it should not be allowed to stand.
Outside, surrounded by colleagues, renewing this plea.
I want to ban the burqa in the country. I think for national security. I think that women have a right then not to be forced to wear this by their husbands who want them to wear it. Some choose that they want to wear it, that's their choice, but some that don't want to wear it as well.
The Senate left at a standstill, with still plenty of work to be done before year's end. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
And Charles joins me now from Canberra. Charles, good evening, where the welcome mat in the national capital is being rolled out.
Evening, Peter. This today and tomorrow, the Parliament will play host to one of China's top legislators, Zhao Luji. Security will be tightened around Parliament House. That's due to the usual fanfare that follows top-ranking officials. But cyber security is being tightened inside the building. This email obtained by Nine advised that phones, laptops and tablets should be powered down along the internal route to be taken by the Chinese delegation. Wi-Fi will be disrupted, and advice is here for software to be updated, Bluetooth switched off and devices in lockdown mode. Pete, this is part welcome, part warning.
All right, Charles, thank you.
So picture this. You're sitting in one of the most important rooms in Australia, the Senate chamber, surrounded by lawmakers in their usual suits and sensible attire, when suddenly someone walks in dressed head to toe in a black burqa. Sounds like a scene from a bizarre political thriller, right? Wrong. This actually happened, and the person behind the veil was none other than Pauline Hanson herself, One Nation leader in Australia's reigning queen of controversy. This wasn't her first rodeo with this particular stunt either, and let me tell you, the fallout was absolutely explosive. Quick favour, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell to keep getting the latest updates on Australian politics. Cheers if you did. Now, back to the show. What possessed Hanson to walk into Parliament dressed in full Islamic garb? Well, according to her, it was all about making a point regarding national security and demanding a ban on the burqa in public spaces. Because apparently, nothing says thoughtful policy discussion quite like theatrical costume changes in the Senate. The moment she removed the veil and asked then Attorney General George Brandis whether he would consider banning the burqa, you could practically hear jaws hitting the floor across Canberra. And Brandis? He was having absolutely none of it. His response was so scathing it could have stripped paint off the walls. Brandis didn't just dismiss Hanson's stunt, he obliterated it. He called it a direct and deeply offensive act that mocked the religious attire of Muslim women. He reminded everyone that Australia is built on respect, freedom and tolerance, not cheap political theatre designed to vilify an entire religious community. The man essentially delivered a masterclass in how to put someone in their place whilst maintaining parliamentary dignity. It was the political equivalent of a mic drop, and social media absolutely erupted. People were sharing clips of Brandis's speech faster than you could say cultural sensitivity. And suddenly, this wasn't just about Hanson's stunt anymore. It became a national conversation about who we are as Australians. But here's where things get really interesting. Fast forward to recent times, and apparently Hanson thought, you know what? That burqa thing worked so well the first time, let's run it back. Because when you're Pauline Hanson, and subtlety isn't in your vocabulary, why not double down on controversy? During another parliamentary session, she repeated variations of her anti-Islamic clothing rhetoric, reigniting the firestorm all over again. Muslim senators and community leaders were quick to call out what they described as blatant racism and disgraceful behaviour. Senator Marine Faruqi didn't mince words, labelling Hanson's actions as Islamophobic fearmongering designed to divide rather than unite Australians. Now, let's be crystal clear about something. The burqa is not some sinister costume designed to frighten suburban Australians doing their grocery shopping. It's a religious garment worn by some Muslim women as an expression of their faith, modesty, and personal choice. Emphasis on personal choice.
The women who wear burqas aren't asking for Hanson's permission, approval, or theatrical commentary. They're simply exercising their right to practice their religion in a country that supposedly values multiculturalism and freedom of expression. But according to Hanson's playbook, religious freedom apparently comes with terms and conditions that don't apply to everyone equally.
The political fallout from Hanson's repeated stunts has been fascinating to watch. While she's maintained her core support base, many mainstream politicians across the political spectrum have condemned her actions. Even some conservative commentators who might typically align with One Nation on other issues drew the line at what they saw as unnecessary provocation of Muslim Australians. The business community has also pushed back, with major companies emphasising their commitment to diversity and inclusion. Because here's a reality check. Modern Australia is multicultural, and that's not changing. Businesses know that discriminatory rhetoric is bad for social cohesion and therefore bad for the economy. What's particularly revealing is how this issue exposes the fault lines in Australian society. On one side, you have people who genuinely believe that Islam is incompatible with Australian values and that Muslim immigration should be restricted or religious practices regulated. On the other side, you have Australians who see religious freedom and cultural diversity as fundamental strengths of our nation. And in the middle, there's a massive chunk of people who honestly just want everyone to get along and think the whole debate is a massive distraction from issues that actually matter, like cost of living, healthcare, and whether their kids will ever be able to afford a house. The international reaction hasn't been kind either. When footage of Hanson's burqa stunt went viral globally, it became yet another embarrassing moment for Australian politics on the world stage. International media portrayed it as evidence of rising right-wing populism and Islamophobia in Western democracies, not exactly the image